So I made a video about Cooper Flagg yesterday, and the fact that I thought Kansas was going to be a tough matchup for him, and a huge test of how ready he is to compete at the very highest level as one of the best players in college basketball. And you know what the interesting thing is? They lost tonight to Kansas, and he didn't have the greatest game on paper, and yet I walked away from tonight's game against Kansas even more impressed and confident about Cooper Flagg's just incredible level of versatility and talent and all the different things he provides on the basketball court than I even was before. Look, I'm not going to sit here and lie to y'all and say that I watch a ton of college basketball at this point. I used to watch a ton. My cousin played at Baylor in Illinois for 5 years, and I watched a lot of college basketball for the last several years, pretty religiously up until last year. But recently I haven't watched much college basketball. And so I'm not an exact expert when it comes to this, but I thought he played really well against some of the toughest competition that you could possibly match up against, and a defense that was just absolutely gearing to stop him. Before we hop into it and discuss more about Cooper Flagg, if you haven't already, make sure you'll hit that subscribe button. Help me push towards the 1,000 subscriber mark on the channel. We're about 150-ish subscribers away. Channel's growing a lot. Really appreciate y'all's support, and I'm trying to get monetized. So again, would really appreciate it if y'all do subscribe. Without further ado, let's hop right into it. So first things first, let's talk about the stats. He only had 2 points at halftime on, I believe, 1 shot. In the second half, finishes the game with 13 points on 5 of 9, 101 from 3, 2 of 4 from the free throw line, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, and 4 turnovers. And we'll get to the turnovers. That was probably the most concerning, or I guess the biggest issue out of the things that happened today. But I do think Kansas played him incredibly well. I mean, KJ Adams is honestly one of the more versatile, high impact defensive players in the country. Played really well in tonight's game. I mean, he for much of this game, I think, could be argued to have outplayed Cooper Flagg. He played incredibly well in the defensive end of the court, and they were basically doubling him off the catch pretty much every single play regardless. They were very much gearing to stop Cooper Flagg before anything else. And look, Duke wins this game if Colin Knuppel goes better than 0 of 8 from 3. I mean, he almost banked in a prayer to tie the game at the buzzer, but they lost despite Hunter Dickinson getting ejected with 10 minutes left in a 1-point game, because of the inability of Knuppel to hit threes. But honestly, I walked away from this game despite Knuppel shooting impressed with him too. 8 assists, really showed some playmaking. Like, this Duke team is really good, and I think they're set up to succeed in March as well. I think they have enough talent to go deeper than 8 deep is what I will say. And I think as the year progresses, they probably will. Malarock was more of a non-factor than I anticipated in this game, to be completely honest. I think Dickinson kind of shut him down, but even when Dickinson went out, Malarock was, for the most part, kind of more invisible on the court than I kind of thought he would be. But Cooper Flagg did some amazing things on both ends of the court. I mean, this dude's defensive ability is really impressive. He had one play where he came, Dickinson was posting up early in the second half, and he came out of nowhere around the backside and tipped away the entry pass and stole it. Had a couple of really nice defensive plays, and some really physical offensive plays as well. His ability to be a screener, to roll hard to the rim, his ridiculous athletic ability and physicality as a 17-year-old kid. I mean, we've almost never seen, it's honestly, we've very rarely seen players at that age ever be as physically gifted and as well-rounded as players as Cooper Flagg is. He can truly guard 1 through 5 at a high level at 17 years old against grown men. I mean, Kansas is probably the most experienced team in the country. Guys like DeJuan Harris, KJ Adams, Hunter Dickinson have been doing this forever. Mason Gillis has been college for probably 6 years coming off their bench. He's a Duke. I'm sorry. But still, there's a lot of experience on that Kansas team, and they're the number 1 team in the nation for a reason. And Cooper did a lot of great things. Knocked down his only 3 ball. I thought for the most part, he didn't force too much offensively. He showed his ability to finish with the offhand. He showed his ability to finish with physicality off of the slip. Honestly, I think he should have been setting more screens in the pick and roll. That felt like Duke's best offense was when Knuppel was the ball handler, and Flagg was setting those screens, and they were running a 2-man game with Malarock in the dunker spot. I feel like they could have literally run that pretty much every single possession and gotten a good play out of it every single possession. And it was a lot of impressive things from Cooper Flagg. The versatility with which he is able to play on the defensive end of the court raises his floor to a ridiculously high level with how impactful he is as a ball handler and as an offensive player. And look, yes, the 4 turnovers would probably be the biggest concern or the biggest issue from tonight's game. And he had a couple of bad turnovers, especially one down in the stretch where he basically spun into Kansas's bigs and turned the ball over down the stretch. Very similarly, honestly, to the Kentucky game last week when he basically just made the wrong play. He should have just risen up and shot over. I believe it was DeJuan Harris at the time. I'm not totally sure. It might have been Zeke Mayo. I'm not totally sure. But I think it was one of those situations where he kind of forced towards the rim more than he needed to and threw the ball away, or I guess just fumbled the ball away. And there were a few possessions like that where he made some mistakes. I think when he was getting doubled, he didn't do a good enough job of getting the ball out of his hands quickly enough. I mean, multiple times when he had the ball and Malawak was setting the screen, they were hedging super hard and doubling every single time. He's got to give the ball up quicker there and force Kansas's defense to be in rotation. I think he would have had the opportunity to dump it off to the slip and let Malawak make a read and make a play, or just swing the ball quicker. But he did a good job in a lot of ways. I mean, he had 3 assists and very easily could have had 5 or 6, created multiple good shots for his teammates off of those double teams. And I just think there is very, very rarely a player with this much skill set and this much talent at his age. I'm not sure that he is ready as of yet to just come in next season. Look, I think unless something goes catastrophically wrong, he's without the doubt the number 1 pick. I mean, watching him play and comparing him to the other guys, I mean, there are a lot of good players in this draft. This is an incredibly deep draft, but I have a hard time seeing how Coop, with his overall incredible skill set and how he's so impactful on both ends of the court, how he's not the number 1 overall pick. I think that's a no-brainer. But he's not ready to come in and anchor a team offensively at this point in his life. And you can't expect that out of a 17-year-old kid. I mean, he's going to be 18 when he gets drafted. He's literally going to start his rookie season in the NBA at 18 years old. I mean, this kid has a ton of time to continue to grow as an offensive player, hopefully continue to develop that jump shot. Yes, he was 1-1 from 3 tonight, but before that, I think he was shooting, I mean, I can check. Was it 26% from the three-point line? Yeah, 26% from the three-point line. And so, look, the shooting will come. I'm not worried about it. The guy's going to average nearly 20 points a game in all likelihood. He's going to average a near double-double, and he's 17 years old playing against the highest level of competition that you're going to see in college basketball. I mean, incredible, incredible stuff. Real quickly, I just want to go through and look at some of the highlights and just talk about some of the stuff that he did in tonight's game, because I think it was really, really impressive. I mean, right here, you see, this is the Kneppel Cooper pick and roll that I was talking about that I think they should have run even more of than they did. It worked really well in the second half especially, but look at this athletic ability. How many guys in college basketball, period, are making that play, let alone a 17-year-old, committing to the rim and attacking with that level of ferocity at his age? You just don't see people doing that. I mean, that is stuff that's NBA physicality, NBA big man physicality right there. And this is coming from a dude who's a 6'10 legit ball handler and does so many things so well with the ball in his hands. Same thing here. Quick slip off the screen, finish with physicality. It doesn't matter. If there's a guy who's smaller than a true big under the rim, he's finishing every single time. I mean, he attacks the rim with a purpose and creates the shot that he wants every single possession. And that's the really impressive thing to see. I mean, I think this is it right here. Look at this downhill left-hand drive against KJ Adams, one of the best defensive wing bigs in college basketball, who's 25 years old, been here forever. Really, really experienced, really good defensive player. Flagg blows by off the dribble and then finishes high off the rim with the left hand to prevent the shot blocker from having any chance to get there and contest. How many 17-year-olds at 6'10" are attacking off the dribble and finishing this with their offhand over one of the better defensive players in the country? You're just not seeing that. This is the type of stuff that is, I mean, you can try to teach it, but it's hard to see, to teach that level of impressive offensive touch and skill set at his age. And I think the moral to the story is the numbers do not look eye-popping tonight. The turnovers weren't ideal, but the things that he does on both ends of the court honestly made me walk away from this game potentially even more impressed than I was with Cooper Flagg. He is going to be a really, really good NBA player with a very, very high floor and an impactful guy for a very long time. Whatever team gets lucky enough to draft him number 1 has got themselves a franchise cornerstone in a lot of different ways, because there just aren't very many people with the two-way potential that he has in the history of the sport. That's how good this dude is at 17 years old. And look, I'm really excited to watch his career unfold. I'm excited to see how good this Duke team is, because I really do believe with him, Kneppel, experience like Tyrese Proctor, Caleb Foster, and then obviously Malawak at the big, as well as a team that actually has some serious depth. they're ready to compete at a very high level. And I think they may not have won tonight, but they're right there in that national championship conversation. So this should be a fun year to watch as a Cooper Flagg fan, as a Duke fan, which I am not exactly, but if you are, and I'm just excited to keep watching this dude get better because he is so good and so young. The ceiling is sky high for Cooper Flagg. Hope y'all did enjoy the video. If y'all did, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more NBA content very, very soon. I appreciate y'all. Peace.